be here and see you all here. We're talking about abundance realized today, and I didn't know a lot about wealth or riches as I was growing up. Maybe you didn't either, but I knew that I was happy, especially when I was alone and my golden-haired little sister wasn't around me. I never liked her. Anyway, we had no electricity. We had a well outside growing up, and we had to light these lanterns at night, and sometimes they would kind of blow up. And we had an old coal stove that my mom cooked on, and the door of the outside toilet was only half a door. And our cow, named Belinda, I named her after myself, she would stick her head over the door, and we would have these long chats. And I thought that was rich. And so she'd put her head through the opening, and we would talk. I told her I was a princess, and she believed it. And she would chew her cud. And do you know what cud is? Cud is, they digest the food the cow does, and then they bring it all up again and chew it again. And that's called cud. I think there's a lot of us that might want to, we wish that we could do that too and digest our food better. But anyway, she would blink her long lashes, and I would just chat and tell her all kinds of things. Sometimes I'd be a farmer, and I'd tell her I was a farmer, and other times I was a princess. And she could be out in that pasture, and she would see me go to the loo, and she would come running, and so she could stick her head over and we could have our chats. So anyway, sometimes I would sit on her, and my dad would have to lift me up, and she would walk very slowly so I wouldn't fall off. When you think of riches, don't you sometimes remember those moments when you were in the moment and you could feel that presence? You know, even today, I can remember the presence of that beautiful, beautiful cow. Are my cows on the back here? Let me see. Oh, there they are. Okay. And I had chickens, and I loved those. And then I had a pig. So I did feel like a little farmer. And I would love to bask in the presence of that cow. I would just love to hold her head, and I just had so much love when I was growing up with these animals. You know, you were actually experiencing, when you can live in the moment like that, you're actually experiencing source and abundance and resonance. And all of this happened 7 miles out of Cranbrook, British Columbia. So I was born a Canadian. And I had no idea that we were poor. It never entered my head. And life was always unfolding in such a sweet, beautiful way. It felt like, I always felt like I was rich. I was 4 years old, and I just felt like everything was so beautiful. I came to understand that to be rich is to be satisfied with what is. I'll never, ever forget the presence of that beautiful animal and my wonderful pig. And she exuded peace. And when I was with her, I knew all my needs were met. Not only that, she abundantly gave us milk in the morning and milk at night. So as a child, I naturally drank in all that it was around me. There was abundance everywhere. There was buttercups, there was tiger lilies, there was wild strawberries. They're little tiny, but oh, are they sweet. Wild roses, and that's when I learned to eat the roses. I loved the petals, and so I think I shared with you last time, it was a problem when I got my first corsage. I had it eaten up by the time we got there. I was just used to eating them. And so I just remember living in such a realm of discovery and beauty. The chickens clucking, the sound of all the frogs at night. I was experiencing, and I was drinking in. You know, children naturally drink in abundance. And when you grow up, you forget that your very first lesson of abundance is to keep drinking it in, and you forget that. And I remember as I was growing up, I began to drink in false perceptions of abundance, of not having enough. And I started at 6 o'clock. It started when I was 6 years old. My very first day of school, it only took 1 hour. It took only 1 hour, and I saw and judged that the other little girls had better dresses. They had pretty little dresses, their curls, their mothers had fixed their curls up, and my hair was black and it was straight, and it wasn't pretty like that. And they had new notebooks, and within that little tiny frame of time, 1 hour, I felt different, I felt afraid, and I felt like I wasn't as good as the other girls. Keep in mind that all the time I was growing up on that farm, I had not one friend. I only had the cow and the pig. So this was a new experience. And years later, I realized that at that early age, I had bought into a maze of negative conditioning having to do with abundance. With that came jealousy, feelings of lack, comparisons, and judgments. And consequently, I spent years and years feeling like my life did not measure up to others, that I never had enough, and I would compare myself to others. From Canada, I had the opportunity to move to Los Angeles, California, and there I had so many abundance lessons, oh my goodness. And I remember how incredible it was to discover the Science of Mind Church. I even remember it was on 6th Street. It probably still is in LA. And I met Dr. Hornaday and Dr. Joseph Murphy and his wonderful book, The Power of Your Subconscious Mind. So, and everything began to shift a little, but there was years and years still of so many lessons. And I've shared with you before some of my lessons in abundance. And one of them was discovering that the apple tree was actually my very first teacher having to do with abundance. And before these metaphysical discoveries, I spent so much of my life thinking that there was so much lack and limitations, so many difficult lessons. And along the way, I realized, though, as the wonderful teachings of the Unity Church and Science of Mind began to permeate me, I began to realize God is our loving Father. And He's prepared unlimited, boundless good for each of us. This good is eternal. And when our good seems to have been withheld or taken, it is because, which is just shocking, it's because of our own attitude. Oh my goodness. Our unlimited good is our divine heritage and is awaiting our recognition. I just think that's so amazing. But it stands up in the invisible and is waiting to come forth, often from our very own thinking and our feeling thoughts of lack, loss, and scarcity that all becomes bound up. And it's loosed when we learn to drink in abundance, when we learn to praise God. Abundance is all around us, we discover. Abundance is our inheritance. Something I did, probably the most important thing I did, having to do with prosperity, is I began to, when I began to open up the gates of supply, I would journal. And I would expose the limiting thoughts that I had. I would write them down. Some people say, oh, but writing them down isn't good. Then you really think that's coming from you. Yes, but I put at the top of the page, these are the lies. And I journaled, I exposed them. And, I'd been raised with poverty and lack. And every time I'd feel poor, I'd think, oh, I can't afford that. Or I'd write down that limiting thought. And my fears were many. And I kept writing down the glorious truth that was abundance wanting to come through. So I'd write and expose down the fear. I'd write it down. I can't go there because I can't afford it. I'd write that out, and then I'd write out the truth. These lies had permeated my consciousness since I was a child. I didn't judge those lies, but I exposed them. That was one of the most important works that I ever did. Most people who experience poverty have no idea that that poverty is actually all from their own belief system. Did you all know that? You probably did. It took me a long time. Their very own unexamined thoughts it's all coming from that. Whatever we think and feel and say is externalized into our world. If we think that we are not good enough, that lie will go out into our world and it will bring forth over and over proof that you're unworthy. That's horrifying, isn't it? You'll even end up maybe getting married to someone that proves to you that you really are unworthy. So, and heartache can follow that. Charles Fillmore said, the spiritual substance from which comes all visible wealth is never, ever depleted. It is with you all the time in response to your faith in it and your demand upon it. These unfailing resources are always ready to give. Pour your living words of faith into the omnipresent ethers, and you will be prospered in every way, even if there's a depression or a recession. How many of you know that you're not under the law of a depression or a recession? Isn't that a relief? Catherine Ponder says, convey the impression of increase with everything that you do. So many times we're not decreeing truth for ourselves. Isaiah 10, chapter 10, verse 1 says, woe unto them that decree unrighteous decrees. What are these unrighteous decrees? In Job, it says, and you will decree a thing and it will be established. Isn't it amazing that all of our life we've been decreeing our life into existence? It's amazing. Unrighteous decrees are untruths in regards to your true identity of Christ in you. And so, such as there's never enough, I wish I was not on a fixed income. Yeah, you're going to keep that fixed income right in place, even though you know God isn't fixed. You're going to keep it right in place as long as you think you're on a fixed income. My finances are always running out. That's a good one. Or I can never afford what I need. I'm frightened that I won't have enough. Oh my goodness. If there's any of you who, I bet there's none of you that have ever experienced that kind of thinking. So people pick up on our unrighteous decrees of lack of limitation instead of our talents that we're expressing. And we wonder, why are people not interested in the gifts that I am doing? And our decrees of lack are actually silently screaming out into our world. You can feel it. Have you ever walked into a store and you can tell that they're having a problem? People are not coming in. And they'll say things like, oh, we're just trying to hang in here, but it seems to be a real slow time. Don't you just kind of want to get out of there? Where if they enjoyed you and they were fun, you'd want to go back. So they are eking out into their whole ecosystem lack and limitation. And you don't want it to get on you. Anyway, we're meant to realize abundance for every area of our life. Abundance means in the dictionary, it means great supply, more than sufficient, great plenty and wealth. And realized means to make real, to bring into being, to understand fully, and to make it appear. You know, a friend said the other day, she said, I'm always afraid my supply is running out. Last month, I had to get my van fixed. I had 2 appliances that went out. And she said, and my air conditioner went out and it needs to be replaced. What in the world is happening? Well, I said, and I didn't say this, it sounds like life is matching the frequency of your belief system. It is giving you evidence that your belief system of money running out is actually true. Isn't it amazing? You know, I talked about this not too long ago when I was talking about the Essenes and how they knew that the thinking body and the feeling body was always acting upon the acting body and your environment. They knew that 2,000 years ago. So As we learn to drink in supply, we realize there is more love to drink in. There's more light to bring it to drink in, more satisfying experiences, more to be grateful for. The new heaven and the new earth is actually all around us. We are learning to embrace our beautiful world, drinking it in, honoring it every single moment. I had a woman the other day, she came in and she said, have you been listening to the internet? Have you been on the internet? And no, I haven't. And she said, oh my goodness, in November, I'm going to have some terrible things. You might want to store up a lot of food. Do you know how many times in my life I've stored up food for these emergencies? I'm not doing that one again. Anyway, oh my goodness. So it isn't thoughts of lack that God designed for us. As we're drinking in our now moment, we gain this beautiful understanding that God has orchestrated everything for us. If we have that kind of faith and we're grateful, it's the most amazing thing how everything comes to us and we find God truly is chasing us. God is chasing us with more wonderful experiences and more delight, more to be grateful for. God's goodness is surrounding us, and we are learning to absorb and drink in the presence of life, love, and wisdom, power, and a substance. Absorb everything around you that is pleasing to your soul with gratitude. This feeds our inner nature. And you know, when you feed your inner nature, it keeps your body well. Your immune system soars. All the universe is your storehouse from which to receive. It is unlimited. Our substance is in us, it's through us, and it's all around us. When we are fully convinced of the presence of the power of God, life abundant everywhere, and knowing that it is complete, it is whole, and it has been waiting for our recognition. Everything that you recognize out here in your world becomes more alive. And let us awaken to realize that the infinite wisdom does not create talents for us. You know, we've all got talents without the corresponding need in others to experience the expression of your talents. And that's the truth. I learned from a wonderful teacher 30 years ago, and I can still feel the power of it. She said, did you know that everything is giving of itself to you? The chair you're sitting on, the table, the dishes, the light you turn on, the shower that you turn on. I was taught to live in gratitude for absolutely everything from this teacher. We realize that what a giving and a loving world we live in. A dear friend shared how life gave to her brother and his son. His son had been in jail off and on for many, many years, and the father had not been able to see his son for 4 years. So he was then overjoyed to hear that there was time now where he could go see his son. He got the notice that he could see him 2 weeks ago. So he lived in Mesa and his son was in jail in a small town in Oregon. When he arrived at the prison, he was wearing shorts. And they said, oh, no, you can't enter. You have to have long pants. You cannot go in with shorts. He had not known that. It was 8 o'clock in the morning. Where was he going to get long pants? Well, his wife, having great faith, told him to drive into town, and everything appeared to be closed. His wife told him to stop the car. She ran over and knocked on the door, told him the situation, and said, we need some long pants so my husband could go into the jail to see his son. And the woman explained she had no husband and no long pants. So she had, anyway, imagine if you had someone come to your home wanting to borrow some men's pants only for 3 or 4 hours. I don't know. And then you would return them in the afternoon. Well, after talking to others in their homes, she finally realized, well, that wasn't working. And coming up, and she came up with no pants. So they drove down the road and there was an auto store, an auto supply store. And this auto supply store was their only hope. It was the only thing open. They explained their dire situation to the manager, and he gathered some of the employees around. And one said, "Oh, well, I only live 10 minutes from here, and you look like you're about the same size. Well, maybe might be a little difference here, but they'll be bigger and you can kind of gather them up." And he said, so he ran out, got his pants from home, and all of life is always ready to give to us. It's really quite remarkable. So we got the pants and then he returned them later. So the moral of this story, if you need clothing just for a few hours, go to your auto supply store. So your words of praise and thanksgiving are of the Spirit. The increase will be even greater than when they're addressed to man. The resources of Spirit are beyond our highest flight of imagination. You can praise a weak body into strength. You can have a fearful heart, but you can speak it into peace and trust. Shattered nerves into poise and power, and lack into abundance. It is an easy matter to give thanks for what we've already received, but it's not so easy to give thanks for that which we hope to receive. Giving thanks in advance brings to you a present expectation. Pray believing that you've already received what you want, because in a way you have. You see, it's part of your blueprint, and it's always around you what it is that you're desiring. Jesus taught that. Oh, this is so exciting to me. We're actually living in a new era now, and we are now in the dawn of this new era. Old methods of supply and support are fast passing away, and new methods are waiting to be brought forth. In the coming commerce, man will not be a slave to money. Humanity's daily needs will be met in ways that are not even thought practical at this time. Be looking for these things. We shall serve for the joy of serving, and prosperity will flow to us and through us in streams of plenty. You see, we're actually magnets for what we feel and talk about. You know, the heart is 5,000 times more powerful than the mind electromagnetically. And gratitude comes from the heart. And in what you feel naturally when you live from being devoted to this beautiful life that lives you. Gratitude may begin in your mind, but when it moves to your heart, you have a perpetual smile, you have joy, you have plenty, and some supply cannot wait to come to you. It just shows up. It surprises you. You begin to live, and suddenly, this amazing thing happens. Suddenly that happens. Suddenly someone shows up in your life that you couldn't even imagine what a gift they are. Abundance will never leave you or forsake you, because you see, supply is infinite. Charles Fillmore wrote in his book, Prosperity, that the name Jesus Christ has tremendous prosperity power. He said the name has the mightiest vibration. It is the name above all names, holding in itself all power in heaven and earth. He wrote this 100 years ago. It is the name that has power to mold the universal substance. It is one with the father-mother substance, and when spoken, it sets forces into activity that fulfill and bring results. Emma Curtis Hawkins says the same thing. Myrtle Fillmore said the same thing. Emma Curtis Hawkins, she is the one that inspired Charles Fillmore and Ernest Holmes and most of the metaphysics with her university that she had. And she said, the name Jesus Christ is the name above all principalities and powers. It is the name of resurrection, newness, healing, abundance, and of comforting tenderness. The name gives the baptism of the quickening spirit upon us. She said, it's not what happens to us that makes us healthy, happy, prosperous, radiantly helpful. It is what we have it is what we're harmonizing with. And when you harmonize with that name, you are letting your soul magnify the Lord. And when your soul is magnified, it is harmonized to resurrection and prosperity. Just something I told you a long, long time ago, and that is broken objects in your home. You may want to get rid of them because your subconscious mind picks that up as a broken life. You have objects that testify to it, and you don't want that around you. Do any of you have broken items that you're going to be getting rid of? Yeah, good idea. So anyway, the truth is we are swimming in a field of abundance, and there's no other way. When Jesus said, I've come that you might have life and know it abundantly, that is abundance for absolutely every area of your life. And don't forget, when you see others, have thoughts of increase for them. Have thoughts that say, thank you, God, for a rich increase for this person's life. Get used to saying that. You have no idea what that can do. So we are to live the spirit of joy and wholeness and abundance and beauty and peace. You need not struggle to attain them. The truth is you already have them. You already have all of that in your consciousness. It's just opening up and recognizing it. So let's just close our eyes now. And we're just going to have a little bit of a meditation. I just would like you to ponder for a moment. You are a beholder of life. You are no longer a judger of life. You will now begin to witness wondrous supply all around you. Even the laughter of children will take on magnificence. Breathe in the abundance that is surrounding you. It has to be surrounding you because the presence is surrounding you. Be prepared from this moment for the new substance to come forth. Realize that you have a harmonious relationship with God and with substance, with supply. Oh, be open to the law of increase in your life. Magnify the kingdom of heaven that can be your reality, where abundance is so prevalent. Yes, abundance is your birthright because God, your Father, is who has birthed you into his kingdom, and this kingdom is immeasurable with prosperity. Whenever you feel the presence of God, you're feeling the presence of abundance. This presence loves you, it cherishes you, and it wants you to live in the unlimited reality of not just who you are, but what is all around you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you.